Ella Gaona and Kiari Roby. Just about set and ready to go here from the women's building. It'll be Melina Brooking to send it away for Syracuse. And the first point goes to Florida State. Maddie Snyder finds the back corner for the Seminoles, 1-0.
The freshman getting on the board early. Impressive spike right to the corner where no other Orange player was, so good court awareness right there from Snyder.
Snyder just a freshman on this Seminoles team. Ella Gaona sends it off, and Syracuse takes an early point.
Yeah, first thing I noticed, Gaona at the libero spot today for Florida State. That's been a position that's been up in the air for the Seminoles this season, and it's normally been Kylene Filamaua, but this time Gaona stepping into that spot.
Great point, and Florida State gets the point there. But going back to Ella Gaona, she started as libero in just 2 games this season, UNF and Wake Forest, so she's making her 3rd start today as the freshman libero for the Seminoles, listed at just 5'4". Here's Kenna Phelan for the Seminoles. Schlichter controls. Lidermiller sets up Searzant. And that goes off the tape. It's a Syracuse point.
Yeah, it's another play. Florida State was close to pushing home, but they find themselves in a 2-2 tie right now.
Kiari Roby gets a good piece of that one. Florida State takes a 3-2 lead. Roby was just named ACC Defensive Player of the Week this past week, the 2nd time this season. Roby really a stud on the Seminoles offense.
Yeah, she's dangerous. 3.45 kills per set. That ranks 6th in the ACC as the ball comes up our way.
There goes your camera, folks. Ricochets right off the camera to our right. Shout out Alexis. Seminoles up 4-2. Controlled by Schlichter. Searzant sets up Schlichter again, and it's too strong, Seminoles point.
But impressive work there from Schlichter to get back in position to make that final hit for the Orange. A little off target, but great hustle there from the German.
That serve too strong as well, so Syracuse getting fortunate on that one, just down by 2. Once again, Coach Ganasharatnam looking to get Syracuse off and running today. They're staying in it so far. Right to Schlichter, sends it away. And a backhand setup goes to Conley. Conley's second a chance. Dug up by Raina Hughes. And that goes off the side of the net. It's a Seminoles point.
But an impressive rally there from Syracuse to get Florida State out of system on that recent rally.
Florida State leads by 3. The Seminoles defeated the Orange just a couple of weeks ago on October 22nd in Tallahassee. So this is the 2nd time this season these two are facing off against each other.
And great work there, tooling off Florida State's block, deflecting it right in the middle for it to drop on the court.
Here's Alyssa Bird to dish it off, one of 2 graduate students on this Syracuse team. Phelan sets up Lewis. She finds a blank space. Florida State goes up 6-4.
It was nearly a pancake right there for Bird. And Coach Ganasharatnam noted her as one of the most consistent players for this Orange squad this year, in a year that hasn't been to the standards at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, a lot of injuries have plagued the Syracuse team throughout the season, and especially in ACC play. Not much has gone right for the Orange. Searzant backwards to Raina Hughes, and that's a point for Syracuse. Raina Hughes with her first kill today. From Williamstown, New Jersey, a redshirt sophomore. There's Lyra Moeller for Syracuse. And it goes off the outstretched arm of Schlichter, but what a save by Alyssa Bird towards the Syracuse bench. Bird digs it up. Lyra Moeller sends it over. And Florida State finally gets the point. Corey Lewis staying with it for the Seminoles.
Oh man, what a sequence of hits right there. Saving Florida State targeting the outer rim of the court a lot, but some very, very good saves from the Orange's back row.
Yeah, definitely that back row been impressive so far in this contest. Corey Lewis, another impressive Seminole though. Searzant from the corner. And Maddie Snyder just floats it over the net. A freshman for Florida State getting it done, putting the Seminoles up 4.
Yeah, she's ambidextrous, so it's really hard to tell whether she's going to go to that right hand or that left hand, but she just lollipops it over the Orange's block right there.
McCabe dug up by Droskovic. And that goes off the outstretched right arm of Greta Schlichter. FSU goes up by 5. Florida State has 6 kills so far, Syracuse just 2.
Yeah, nothing you can do on that one. Greta was lucky enough to get a hand on it.
Koenig from the corner goes off the hand of Searzant. And Florida State on a 3-0 run. Beg your pardon, 4-0 run now.
Yeah, it's tough. Targeting Veronica Searzant, who is the setter for this team, that usually results in a lot of points.
Koenig. Oh, what a kill. Audrey Koenig's had 16 matches this year with 10 or more kills, and she led her team on Sunday with 15. Audrey Koenig, just a stud junior on this Florida State team. So Syracuse, Otto the Orange, dancing to the bleachers to our right. Always good when Otto's in the building.
He's getting into it right now.
He is.
I was going to say the camera can't see us, but Nico's doing the same dance moves up in this balcony over here.
Oh, man. Florida State up by 7. Before that timeout, went on a 5-0 run. It'll be Kylene Philemau to send it away for Florida State from Washington. Schlichter controls. And that'll be a net violation on Syracuse right off the bat, so Florida State gets their 6th point in a row.
Yeah, your Syracuse, you need a point soon, especially with this big run that they've had when this game was close for a good portion of the start.
Lyra Moeller goes backhand to McCabe. Florida State plays it off. And Koenig finds a hole. It goes off the hand of McCabe, and it's another Seminoles point.
Yeah, that one just off the top of the block, and unfortunately not enough time to get to the ball.
Florida State 2nd in the ACC and 6th in the country with a .301 hitting percentage. Just shows you how lethal this Florida State team really is. They say numbers don't lie. McCabe just floats it over. Koenig, another attempt. Blocked for the moment by Harris Waddy, but not after. Corey Lewis with the kill.
Yeah, well, there's a reason that she was on the 2022 All-ACC second team. You saw it right there with a huge kill.
Averages over 2 kills a set. That is Corey Lewis. Florida State up 10. Can they add another? Dug up by Burt. Searzant, but it just goes wide. And that's another Seminoles point on a 9-0 run. Lidermuller sets up Harris Waddy. Koenig once again goes cross court, and that's another Florida State point.
Yeah, that deflected off not one but two Syracuse players right there. So an impressive job in Florida State. Just the speed of those kills is really what's killing the Orange right now.
Another timeout from Syracuse. He knows how to push this Florida State team going forward.
Oh my gosh. Well, when you're the second winningest coach in Division I
Yeah.
history, you could say you've been around the block. Unfortunately, he's got a little way to go. Russ Rose of Penn State University has 1,272 wins, and he coached for 40 years. Coach Poole in his 37th year. So he's got a little bit of a ways to go. You do the math, 359 wins.
Yeah, just a small resume from head coach Chris Poole. We're back in action here. Florida State up by 12. Went on a 10-0 run before that timeout. Dug up by Schlichter. Lidermuller sets up Searzant. Shoves it over. Controlled by Florida State. And that goes just over the tape from Droskovic. Oh, what a shifty move there from the graduate student.
I don't even know if that was shifty. It seemed like an accidental hit.
Hey, whatever it was, it worked.
It worked completely. But unfortunately, Syracuse wasn't ready, especially when Florida State has been just powering a lot of those kills today and hasn't given them a lot of those easy points.
Philemau's serve goes long. And so Syracuse to serve once again, finally breaks a 10-0 scoring run.
The third service error for Florida State this evening.
It's been one of their limited downsides so far. Lidermuller backwards to Searzant. And it's a Florida State point. Couldn't exactly tell if that was hit off the top of the net or blocked from a Seminole. But it is a Florida State point nonetheless. 19-6, the Seminoles lead here in set number 1. Syracuse finally back home after a couple of road games, and it's their first home game in November. Here's Schlichter. She tosses it over. Dug up by Koenig. Burt behind the back to Schlichter. It's too strong and wide. Florida State up by 14 in the first set. Nico Horning alongside Max Gifford here in the women's building.
And that kill just a little too strong for Schlichter right there.
Yep. So Schlichter now playing up front. She was in the back for quite a while. And Koenig finds a hole right in the middle of the court.
You can see Schlichter, she kind of froze right there. She was expecting Burt to dive out and get it, but unfortunately the grad student didn't have the time or the speed to get over there.
Audrey Koenig already with 6 kills in this contest. And Snyder adds another. Oh man, it's all Florida State right now. A Florida State team that started slow against Virginia. Well, they're not starting slow in this first set against Syracuse.
Yeah, how many runs have we seen? They had a 10-0 run earlier, now a 4-0, but now Syracuse gets back on the board.
Ella Gaona's serve goes wide. We mentioned earlier, but Gaona getting her 3rd start of the season. A freshman from your neck of the woods, St. Louis. Harris Waddy sends it off for Syracuse. Lidermuller to Searzant. Searzant's second attempt. Controlled for the Seminoles. And it's too strong by Sky Eakes. So Syracuse finally stringing together a couple of points here. See if they can get some momentum going into the second set.
Yeah, Sky Eakes, when asked what superpower she wished she had, she said she wished she had the power to read minds. Well, I think she got a little bit of super strength right there. She sent it all the way over the court.
Right. Florida State up by 14. Brooking couldn't find Lidermuller on the setup. And the Seminoles just 2 points shy of taking set number 1.
Half of Syracuse's points have been off service errors so far. So you take out those service errors, it's only 4 points for the Orange right now.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's been all Florida State here in this first set, and the goal coming into this month for Coach Poolmax, as Serzant finally gets one to go for Syracuse. Serzant's been trying to find a space most of this game. Get into her in a minute, but Florida State's goal coming into this month: stay healthy, stay recovered, and stay focused, and they have done that here in the first set. The Seminoles lead 24-9. Set number 1 at the women's building. Two young teams going at it. Florida State just a little more experienced.
But when you look at the overall ACC, they're actually one of the youngest in terms of the top teams.
Talking about Florida State?
Yes.
Yes. No, they are. They are. I mean, they really just have a talented group of girls from the state of Florida. That's basically how you look at it. Down the board, a lot of the team from Florida, they were standouts in high school. And Florida State can recruit them, bring them on board, and that's why they're just such a good program. That falls in the back corner for Florida State, and that ends the first set here from the women's building. Florida State.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Syracuse looking to get some momentum going here in the second set. Audrey Koenig sends it off for the Seminoles. And Syracuse gets the first point.
And that's how you tool off a block right there. Great bounce back point for Syracuse to begin this second set.
So that was Harris Waddy on the kill. Here's Schlichter. Schlichter digs it up. Layla Smith sent it over. Now it's Rothman from the backside, and it stays in at the far line. And so Florida State ties it up at 1 in set 2.
Yeah, Searson thought for sure that one was going out.
Definitely a close play, but a better performance from Rothman on that hit, a sophomore from Birmingham, Alabama. Raina Hughes with the kill for Syracuse. Raina Hughes is really one of those players for Syracuse. Not only is she a young player like most of the Orange players are, but she had a team-high 5 errors in the last game to NC State, but she's rebounded so far today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you have so much experience and when you go through that redshirt year, you get some time to adjust and you get some time to learn a lot more about the game, and you can tell that she's done that this season.
As Audrey Koenig adds another kill right there for Florida State. Led the team with 15 kills on Sunday, and already at 7 today. Layla Smith with the windup for Syracuse gets the point.
Syracuse finally found the seam in that Florida State block, at least it seems, through this first half of play, or this first half of this second set.
Yeah, the Orange have taken advantage of that front line so far, at least here in set 2. Rothman has to toss it over for Florida State. It sets up McCabe, but it goes wide.
Yeah, Syracuse got Florida State out of system again right there, but unfortunately couldn't capitalize with a lot of their players towards the left side of the court.
Yeah, the Orange have been trying to play around with Florida State so far, doing a good job, tied at 3. Florida State took set 1, 25-10 over Syracuse. And that goes off the arm of Koenig, I believe, unless it was Corey Lewis. Nonetheless, it's another Syracuse point.
Just another one off the top of the block right there. Syracuse doing an excellent job getting to Florida State's front row early.
A young team for Syracuse. Here's Maddie Snyder. Schlichter off the arm of Snyder. Syracuse stringing together some points. Greta Schlichter, a freshman from Germany.
And what a way to sizzle the pits right there. I mean, that one was right off the side of the arm.
And one of the interesting things with Schlichter this season is she's had to play out of position. She came into this year as the starting libero for this team. And now she's one of the defensive specialists for Syracuse.
And now Syracuse on a little bit of a run.
I was going to say, as they get its third straight point there.
I will say, Out of the Orange was impersonating some of the Orange servers earlier, so maybe that's why the Orange has started to do a little bit better, because he's not impersonating them anymore.
Corey Lewis with the kill for Florida State. But going back to Schlichter, I mean, you have an amazing story between her and another freshman in Mira Ledermoller, where they both played on the U16 Germany national team.
Back in 2019.
Right, and now they find each other back here in Central New York. That's a big kill there from Layla Smith. Oh, Syracuse looks like a completely different team here in set 2.
What a way to bring the house down from Layla Smith from Newcastle, Indiana. A 3-time Indiana State champion over at Newcastle. And that's a good state of volleyball in Indiana.
Definitely is. Bert's serve goes too long. But you talk about, you got Indiana high schools, you got Florida high schools, and a lot of these girls can just compete at a high level starting in high school, which helps them when they get to a collegiate level like the NCAA, let alone the ACC, where it's a lot of good competition. So these players are ready even before they get to college.
Yeah, you look around, Syracuse doesn't recruit in necessarily one area. You look down, you got Germany, Georgia, Oklahoma, Illinois, Indiana, all around the world.
That goes off the left arm of Koenig. Syracuse adds another. They're up 8-5 here in set number 2. And that's one of the classifications for Syracuse is they try and diversify their players, right? You just mentioned a lot of players from around the world, and that's what sets them apart from other teams as well.
That one just off the backside of Alyssa Bird. A tough one to get to, but she's someone that Coach Ganesh Rodnam has really looked to as far as consistency is concerned, and she's had a couple of those that have just gone off her body.
Florida State gets their second straight point, cuts it to a 1-point deficit in set 2.
Could trick the front row right there.
Audrey Koenig sends it off for Florida State. Dug up by Phelan. And Florida State gets the other point. Ariswadi was trying to go backside there, couldn't get it done. And Florida State's tied it up at 8.
Syracuse has done a good job of getting Florida State out of this pass-hit spike rhythm, though. A lot of these second, third hits haven't been your normal setter-to-hitter.
Rothman tried to lay it down, but couldn't exactly corral it to a good spot for Florida State. Syracuse up 9-8, breaks a 3-0 run from the Seminoles. But going back to Greta Schlichter, who's on the serve right now for Syracuse, she's now roommates with Ledermoller here at Syracuse. So it's really a full circle effect for both of them.
Just another one off of Burt right there. She had 42 service errors going into this game. And while those aren't based on the service, she's had a couple of those body shots so far that have cost the Orange some points.
We're tied up at 9. That's a Florida State point. Goes off of Lauren McCabe there at the front corner on the right side of your screen.
Yeah, McCabe, the second most blocks on this Syracuse team, and just great job sliding to get in position right there on the right side of the court.
Florida State leads by 1. Hasn't led much in this second set. Syracuse has looked good so far, faltering a bit here as McCabe sends it too wide. Lauren McCabe, a graduate student, came from Seattle. As that one is just outside the line from Harris Waddy. Oh, a good spot, but couldn't get it to stay in. Florida State now leads by 3 just like that.
And it's tough to see from the other end of the court, but the official had the best view of it.
Oh, what a block right there from Audrey Rothman.
Syracuse trying the deep set right there, but unfortunately, FSU not fooled.
And a timeout by Syracuse, a 5-0 run for Florida State. Definitely, that's a great point you bring up. Emery Dupes from Georgia using a medical redshirt this year. In her freshman year in 2021, she was a first All-ACC freshman libero for Florida State. Not having her this year, but the freshmen are stepping up really well. As we're back out of the timeout, Syracuse down by 4. Florida State, oh, what a statement by Corey Lewis. And she's been super active on the net so far tonight.
And a great kill to that 2 zone right there. Good court awareness, good IQ, not knowing that just putting it in the middle of all those orange bodies.
Corey Lewis, a local standout who finished her high school career at Florida High School. Seminoles add another.
And that one just off the edge of the block for Syracuse, off the top of the hand right there, and it ended up angling towards that 3, toward the mid of the 3 and 2 zone.
Schlichter saves it in front of the SU bench.
Nearly fell on the bench.
Yeah. And that goes off the top. So SU gets a point. Syracuse down by 5, 15-10, Florida State leads.
And a big point right there to stop a 7-0 run for the Seminoles.
Huge point. And how important is it for SU to not only stop the runs, but try and take advantage of those runs, get a run of their own?
Well, the only way they're going to put themselves in a position to compete in this game is going on a run. And right now, the only runs have been Florida State.
Syracuse just ended a 6-0 Florida State run. Dug up by Hughes, and that's a Florida State point.
Some good play on both sides right there. Both just getting good rebounds off of each other's blocks when the respective opponent hits it off the edge, hits it off the top, etc.
Yeah, both teams playing fast tonight. I think they're going to review this one.
It's a Syracuse challenge.
So SU is going to challenge this call here.
It's called a ball handling error. With you're coaching a lot of the players you played with, that's not the situation because there's only 4 athletes from that first Ganesh Ratnam team that remain. So she's teaching the new generation of Orange players how to technically play volleyball and just know more about the game. So that's what she brings, and then the ability to get those live in-game reps when she does go start her pro career is essential.
And that's the other thing that people don't see, right? They just see the performance on the floor. They don't see what's going on behind the scenes with Polina Shimanova. As Syracuse starts the set with a point there.
Brandon Hughes, a nice little lollipop
Yep.
over the Florida State block.
But Shimanova has just been so vital for these freshmen to get really live opportunities against someone that has been there, done that, going to play pro. And these freshmen, despite the record for Syracuse, really have an opportunity going forward, as Lauren McCabe with a huge block there. Syracuse finally gets a couple of points, down by 4 in the second set.
You can tell why she was the only Red Hawk last year in Seattle to start every single game.
Yes. Yeah, led that Seattle team with 86 blocks last year.
Not only the second service error for Syracuse today, Florida State still at 4, but none in the second set so far.
Dug up by Burt. McCabe in the corner. Here's Koenig. She's been hot, and she remains hot as Syracuse couldn't corral it. And Florida State takes a 6-point lead here in set number 2. Florida State took the first set 25-10. The Seminoles swept the Orange back in October. And what a play there by Veronica Searzan.
She just angled that one down so perfectly, and she's someone who has a multitude of experience in athletics. She didn't just play volleyball her whole career. Back in high school, she played basketball, soccer, ran track. So she has that ability to jump. She has that speed, and she has that, IQ and awareness of the court. She's an all-around athlete. She had 2 kills in the first set and adds another here. And another block from Syracuse. Layla Smith comes up with it. The Alabama transfer. Syracuse done a nice job out of these timeouts so far, Max. As that serve stayed in the corner. Florida State thought it was going to go out of bounds. Syracuse now on a 3-0 run. Went 5-5 right there, and no one on Florida State was expecting that one to stay in.
Brookings sends it away for the Orange. Burt goes behind the back to, Here's Koenig, and it goes off the hands of Syracuse.
Yeah, Florida State hasn't found the seam a ton in Syracuse's block today. Has mostly relied on Syracuse's either service errors or a lot of the time the second hit on a kill.
Yes. And a Florida State block. That's Audrey Koenig and Kiari Roby up there at the front of the net. This Florida State team just so deep in their depth and solid all around. You look left and right, it doesn't matter the position. They are just experienced and a fierce set of volleyball players. Seminoles lead by 5. Searzan goes to Schlichter. Snyder, too strong. Point Syracuse.
Something I want to point out about Snyder that I'm very impressed with is the fact that her dream job, she has 2, either to be a sideline reporter or an oral surgeon. So 2 very different ends of the spectrum right there, Nico.
Well, what would you choose?
Personally, I think I would be an awful oral surgeon, and no one would ever trust me in a medical field.
I'd trust you, Max. Raina Hughes hit there, goes off the antenna. So Florida State up by 5, 21-16 here in set number 2. FSU took set 1 25-10, but the Orange have had a better showing here in the second set despite the 5-point deficit.
Just could really use one of those runs to maybe make this a competitive set.
Yeah, volleyball really a game of runs for sure. As Hughes' attempts hit the net, and Florida State adds another.
And that one you could tell she was disappointed, slammed the ball right on the court once that point was decided. So regardless of what you want to say about this team and how they may not have performed up to their expectations to start this year, actions like that right there show that they are visibly frustrated sometimes with the way that they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, they're frustrated. They're trying their best. But again, it's just a young team. And when Polina Shimanova can come in here and try and change the atmosphere a little bit for Syracuse, things can go right at any time. And they've faced some tough teams. They've had some good runs. They're just not experienced enough to put it all together.
And it doesn't help that this is also a rather short team. It isn't necessarily the tallest in the ACC, and not even close to the tallest when you compare it to Florida State.
SU gets 2 straight points there, down by 4. So they're hanging with the Seminoles here late in the second set.
Nice ace there from Veronica Searson.
Yes, and SU kept it close against NC State last game, but NC State finished off with a 5-1 run. But Syracuse adds 1 here. They trail by just 3.
Florida State tried the deep set right there. Greta Schlichter not fooled at all, and her and the other blocker got up there to angle the ball down.
Veronica Searson sends it off for Syracuse, and Schlichter gets it over the net. Did it hit the floor? Yes, it did. Point for the Orange.
Another great block from Schlichter.
Greta Schlichter had 7 digs on Sunday, and she has 6 already here on this Friday night in Syracuse.
She only has had 5 blocks this season and already has 2. That's a career high in a match.
Yeah, Schlichter playing really well so far, and so far Syracuse is as well here in this late second set. It adds another. Oh, what a huge run from Syracuse lately on a 5-0 run.
Yeah, Audrey Koenig, she actually played soccer for 10 years, probably wishing she could use her foot on that play, keep the ball up.
Different sports, different rules. And that goes off the arm of Philamau. Florida State letting up a little bit lately. Syracuse taking advantage, and it's tied it up. 22 all in set number 2. Syracuse a chance to win a set. It hasn't been said in a while. Goes off the arm of Kenna Phelan. The Seminoles can't save, and the Orange lead by 1.
And that's a great example right there, just a perfect float serve.
Phelan, oh, what a kill by Kiari Roby. We're all tied up at 23. Kiari Roby, go ahead, my bad.
Oh, I was just gonna say she has been noted for how impressive she is in her serve from the middle, but her killing from the middle just as good. And then right there you see a block from the middle, so she can do it all.
Roby adds a block there. Florida State leads by 1. Timeout, Syracuse. Man, Kiari Roby, the junior from Atlanta. Yeah, she knows the broadcast stuff. She also knows how to play some volleyball. And now coach some volleyball. All right, Florida State up by 1 here in the second set. 1 more point would let them have a 2-0 advantage. Roby blocked. Zaria Harris-Wadi saves the set for Syracuse, and we're tied at 24.
Well, there's a reason she leads this team in blocks. I mean, what a great slide to get in a position right there. And the sideline just absolutely electric right now, doing some jazz hands right now to hopefully give some good juju to the Orange, and they just did it again.
Rothman couldn't corral it, and Schlichter's serve lets Syracuse go up by 1. Oh, this will be huge, Max. A team that has not won a set.
A chance with the add-on right here.
Yeah. Hasn't won a set since October 8th. Here's Rothman. Searson. It goes off the arm of Koenig, and the Syracuse Orange win a set. I mean, it's kind of like quarters in any other sport. It's kind of like innings in baseball. You got to win the set, right? I mean, that's where it starts. So winning a set for Syracuse is a win in its own. The Orange start off with a point here.
And Florida State looks just a little bit rattled right now, Nico, because Syracuse coming into this game doesn't necessarily have any expectations on them. They're entering Friday dead last in the ACC, and Florida State's battling to maybe potentially get an ACC regular season championship.
Yeah, Florida State has nothing to lose. Corey Lewis adds her 5th kill of the night, ties it up at 1 here in set number 3. And you just mentioned it, but Syracuse has nothing to lose. Florida State, on the other hand, tied with one of 4 teams at the top of the ACC. And in the loss against Virginia, what a block by Kiari Roby.
What do you mean in the win against Virginia?
That's her 4th. Yes, I meant the win over Virginia. But if you go set by set in that Virginia win, it wasn't smooth for head coach Chris Poole's team. They were completely unfocused in the first set, played well in the second set, played bad again in the fourth set, and then won in the third set, and then won in the fourth set. So an up and down game, but they pulled out the win. Florida State getting a little unfocused here in the second set, and trying to rebound here in set number 3.
Yeah, Coach Poole has talked about every opponent they're trying to respect as much as they can. And right now it looks like they might have overlooked opponents like Syracuse and Virginia.
Harris Waddy shoves it over, and Syracuse trails by 1 here in set number 3. Florida State won the first set 25-10, and Syracuse took set number 2 26-24, a good one in the second set tonight. Here we are in set number 3. Florida State leads 3-2, and a huge kill by Kiari Roby. Yeah, she's having a great game so far. Her 5th kill tonight. And she already has 5 blocks as well on the defensive end.
Surpassed 200 kills tonight. She started this game at 198. That's good for 3rd on the Seminoles squad.
Phelan sends it away for the Seminoles. Searzant sets up McCabe. She goes cross court, but too strong and wide. Florida State up 4-2. We mentioned Defensive Player of the Week for Kiari Roby, but looking at the ACC as a whole, she ranks 6th in over 1 block a set and a .402 hitting percentage. So she is not only doing well at Florida State, but doing well across the entirety of the ACC.
Oh, easily. And you just mentioned all the various statistical categories she's leading in. That's what you want to see out of a player, and that's why she's just been an indispensable player for the Seminoles squad.
A junior on this Seminoles team. Here's Harris Waddy, sends it off for Syracuse, down by 2. Koenig floats it over. And Hughes' attempt is good. That's a point for Syracuse.
An impressive job getting Florida State out of their system again. That's something Syracuse has done so well this afternoon, is not allowing that setter to get the second hit, and instead, in that situation, having Kiari Roby, who's a middle back, take that one.
Koenig. Oh, outstretched arm of Schlichter. And Syracuse takes the point. Oh, what a team point there from Syracuse all around. You had the layout from Schlichter, the block at the net, and Syracuse ties it up at 5 here in set number 3.
Yeah, McCabe, great patience to find that seam on Florida State's block, and it's resulted in a tie game so far.
That serve goes too strong. It's the 3rd service error for Syracuse. You mentioned that the service errors at the top of the broadcast in the first set when Florida State had 4, even though they secured the first set by quite a wide margin, but they haven't
had any since that first set, but it ultimately didn't matter in that second set because Syracuse ended up taking it.
Right. Koenig's attempt went into the bleachers to our right. And Syracuse just keeping it close here in the 3rd set as well. They came back in the second set. They were down by quite a bit in the middle of that set. And they've controlled things here lately. Koenig winds up, controlled by Burt. Searzant sets up Smith. Koenig again. Oh, what a save. Team point from Florida State, but Roby with a huge dig there for the Seminoles, and she'll head back to serve now.
And a nice block by Audrey Rothman, and that was impressive, but do you want to know what's more impressive about Rothman that I found out before the game?
What you got?
She can recite every single word of the Star Wars prequels.
Wow.
noted her favorite movie is Revenge of the Sith, and to say the least, she had the high ground on that one.
And you're a big Star Wars fan yourself, so it makes sense for you to bring that up. But that is really cool. Revenge of the Sith, a very good movie, by the way. Off the arm of McCabe, Florida State gets a point.
Unfortunately, the force not with Syracuse on that kill right there.
No, it's not, but it is with them tonight because they won a set. Yeah, I miss watching Star Wars movies. Here's Rothman on the corner. Searzant sets up McCabe. This one stays in play from Florida State. Syracuse controls. Searzant. And blocked at the net by Corey Lewis. And the Seminoles go up by 3.
A couple of questionable digs there from Kiara Roby, who will serve this next ball away, but some of those balls looked like they were going out.
It was a wild point, to say the least. McCabe floats it over. And Searzant keeps it in. Attempt number 2, no good. And Florida State up by 4.
Yeah, that time Florida State did a good job of making Veronica Searzant, the freshman setter, have to take the kill.
Syracuse takes the timeout down by 4. Florida State leads 10-6 here in the third.
Winning a set, I think, will be very good for the team's motivation, just for their experience going forward.
It's a learning season for Syracuse. They've played a lot of tough teams. The ACC as a conference in its entirety is very solid throughout the board. And I think you're right, Max. The Orange are going to be ready in the next couple of years going forward, get this year under their belt, and see what happens in the next couple of years. Florida State out of the timeout with the kill by Corey Lewis.
Yeah, Greta Schlichter tried to do a little bit of everything there. She was moving to her left and ended up sliding to the right, but ultimately couldn't get it on her outstretched right arm.
And McCabe came from the outside there. I think one of the Syracuse players touched the net. Florida State goes up by 6. A 6-0 run now for the Seminoles. You mentioned the future of this team, Max, but the future of this building, too, is going to get a little bit of a transformation going forward. Obviously, if you just look all around, it's a very old building here in the women's building right next to the main campus, just a couple of minute walk away from the JMA Wireless Dome. And I think a revamped team and a revamped gym will do justice for Syracuse.
Oh, easily. And some action going around in the JMA Wireless Dome tonight. Also on ESPN Plus at 7 o'clock, Syracuse women's basketball in action against Central Connecticut State.
Yeah, getting underway right about now. Basketball season's back. Volleyball's still going on. Yeah, Syracuse field hockey in the playoffs.
Big overtime win against the Liberty Flames today down in Durham.
Yes. Florida State adds another. Schlichter couldn't control on the outside, and the Seminoles lead 13-7 here in the third set.
Yeah, good IQ by Florida State going 4-4 on that play. Schlichter didn't look remotely ready for that ball.
Lewis is present there at the net once again, and Florida State takes the point. We talked about it a little bit earlier, Max, but Corey Lewis has really just stood out today for the Seminoles so far.
Oh, yes. Well, when you have a .483 hitting percentage entering this game that's ranked 3rd in the ACC and 7th nationally, you expect that she would be a big part of this game for this team.
And she does it again right there with another kill. Her 8th of the game. Corey Lewis and Audrey Koenig doing it for Florida State at the front. 8 kills apiece.
And in those games last weekend against Pitt and Virginia, she had 12 kills against number 6 Panthers, and then had 10 against Virginia. Had almost a .500 hitting percentage against the Cavaliers.
got a piece of Schlichter's arm. And now that is Lewis again. Oh, it's been all Corey Lewis here as of late. And Florida State, just like that, up by 9.
And she keeps targeting that 4 zone with Greta Schlichter. Schlichter's been good on that first hit, but on that second hit, she's looked a little discombobulated every time.
Well, they're definitely targeting her, and she's done a nice job so far, but a couple have gotten away from Schlichter. That service stays in. Florida State up by 10, pulling away from Syracuse as the Orange take a timeout.
But to that point about Schlichter, it's easy to target her because she's 5'6". She is
this season
leads the team in assists.
I was going to say, and in the last loss to Florida State just a couple of weeks back, she had 19 assists in that game alone. So she's been there, hasn't had much action tonight.
Here's a stat for you.
Sure.
Mira Liedermuller, she averages about 5.8 assists per set. The team as a whole averages 8.5.
Wow.
So she accounts for nearly all of them.
And I know you love your stats, so I can trust you with whatever stats you bring up because you are a stat genius. Whenever I've worked with you, you got something off the top of the brain, and I don't know how you find it, but you do.
Not much of a math guy, though, I have to be completely honest. Even though one of my grandmothers is a math teacher.
Oh, really? We got a grandmother's a math teacher. I got a family of former teachers as well. Maybe that's where the stats come in.
My grandfather's also an electrical engineer, so he's...
So you're saying you're smart?
No, I'm not the smart one. My grandparents are the smart ones. I did not get the wise genes. But it's safe to say that Florida State has figured out the equation to Syracuse's play in this third set.
Definitely have. Florida State up by 10 at the moment. Oh, a little shove over the net by Draskovic from Serbia. Angelija Draskovic, a graduate student. She's had 5 double-doubles this season and gets Florida State up by 11 right there.
You focusing on the fact that she's from Serbia. She made the sacrifice of moving away from her family to pursue volleyball at just 11 years old. And I would say that it's paid dividends playing on a high-flying team like Florida State in the ACC.
It sure has. I mean, if you know from that young of an age that you want to go pursue something, it's not only a bold move, but it is sacrificing your upbringing, maybe your family time, your friends' time, and for her to know that at age 11, what a story from Angelija Draskovic.
It's a huge risk for her to take, huge risk for her family to take, but a great story. And for her to be at such a well-known program like FSU and to be down in Tallahassee.
Angelija Draskovic, 2 kills tonight. She does have 14 assists on the evening. And that stays in from Maddie Snyder.
One official,
yeah.
The near official called it out. The far official called it in.
We're each looking at separate officials here, Max. So Coach Poole having some words here.
The referee deferred to the near official who had the closer eye.
Well, Florida State leads by 10 at the moment. If this point goes in favor of Syracuse, well, it would stay 10 points. And yeah, so it is going to stay that way. 20-10, your score at the moment. Here's Koenig. Searzant. Snyder on the outside. Dug up by Searzant. She sends it over. Snyder again, too strong, point Syracuse.
Yeah, that one just a little too strong. This is a time where maybe Syracuse can go on one of those runs that they did, like the last set.
That'd be a good time for it, but oh, not right there as Corey Lewis says no to that. Oh, what a performance so far by Corey Lewis. 11 kills, or excuse me, that's her 12th kill. Leads all players who have hit the floor so far tonight. Kiari Roby with the block, front and center for Florida State.
You can see a good effort from Melina Brooking trying to pick up the trash from a rebound, but fortunately just a little too far under the net.
Roby's 6th block tonight. She had 8 in the win on Sunday over Virginia. Dug up by Searzan. Schlichter to Searzan. Backwards to Antonio, or excuse me, Brandon Hughes, but it goes to Florida State.
It sizzled the pits of the Florida State block right there. It ball ended up dying right when it hit her armpit and fell straight down.
And I beg your pardon, the point does go to Syracuse. It'll be Greta Schlichter on the near side of your screen. Syracuse down by 10. Oh, Snyder slams it down for Florida State, set up by Droskovic.
And I mentioned it earlier with how she's ambidextrous, so she uses both those hands to kill, and that time went to the left hand and an absolute overhand fastball serve.
23-12, Florida State leads Syracuse here in set number 3. Schlichter's had some impressive saves so far tonight. Here's Koenig, and she finds a blank space on the outside. And Florida State just 1 point away from taking set number 3.
And Koenig's been another one of those players that you can't highlight enough. Won the ACC Offensive Player of the Week award twice in the month of October.
She's been very effective tonight for Florida State. 9 kills on the evening, 8 digs as well. Hughes on the outside. Syracuse gets a point here and keeps them in it. We mentioned Raina Hughes in the loss to NC State having 5 errors. She does have 4 errors tonight, but she gets her 13th kill, and that's a game high from either side. But that serve goes out of bounds, and this set goes to Florida State as Zaria Harris-Waddy couldn't keep it in for the Orange. So the Seminoles and then Florida State clamped down and took the 3rd set.
Yeah, you got the sense after that first set. It felt a little bit like Groundhog Day. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie, but that's what it felt like for this Orange team, I'm sure. And to get that response was definitely big for this team, even though they ended up dropping the 3rd set ultimately.
I think Groundhog Day's in the spring, right?
Excuse me?
I think Groundhog Day's in the spring, right?
Yes. Well, it's February.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day
is... It's a little early for Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day is to decide if it's going to the winter or spring.
Oh, good point. Yeah, good point. Florida State trying to win its 4th in a row. And Syracuse somehow saved that one. But it's a Florida State point. 1 too many touches for the Orange.
That one ping-ponged all the way around. I think possibly all 6 players might have gotten a hit or bump or touch on that one.
So Florida State leads here early on in set number 4, 2-0. Florida State leads Syracuse in the kills department 42-29.
And how about, although Syracuse only has 29 kills today, Raina Hughes accounts for 13 of those.
Yeah, she's played really well for Syracuse. Responded from last game where she didn't have her best performance, but she has a .320 hitting percentage tonight. And she's added 3 digs as well on the defensive side. Doing really well for the Orange. There's Schlichter on the far side. Koenig tosses it over, and it falls to the ground. Florida State up 4-0 here early.
That time trying to keep it low for Raina Hughes so she can't come over the top and kill the ball.
Fill them out, send it away for Florida State. And Searzan's toss couldn't stay in, so Florida State gets its 5th straight. Man, they've opened this 4th set coming out hot, 5-0 FSU.
And Syracuse, this entire game, has started out sets very close with this team. And this is the first time we've seen the Seminoles emerge at the beginning of a set. So maybe coming out hot with something that Coach Poole had to say in between sets.
An impressive kill right there from Harris Waddy. And it's something that we mentioned coming into this game. You just mentioned with Coach Poole that Florida State would have to start out hot, but Syracuse has done a really nice job at controlling that until here in the fourth set. And that's a big reason why Syracuse has played pretty well today and took a set.
And unfortunately, that one off the forearm of Melina Brooking. But something I was impressed about right there is how you saw 4 players after the play go and hustle to try to get it out.
Heart and hustle. That's what this Syracuse team's all about.
Unfortunately, it's not in our stat sheet.
It's not. Syracuse has another 6-2 Florida State lead. So, looking ahead, Max, you have a contending Florida State team going forward. They were tied with Georgia Tech, Louisville, and Pitt, all at the top of the ACC, all at 12-2 in the conference. And FSU is pretty much the younger group playing out there out of those 4. And they play Miami next on Sunday, who's 9-5 in ACC, play right behind them. So Florida State trying to get right for the Hurricanes.
Well, assuming Florida State goes on to take this match from Syracuse, they shouldn't lose any games, especially in ACC play down the stretch. You have Miami this Sunday. They're going to play Chicago State the next weekend and North Carolina. And the only other ACC team after that is Notre Dame, who is near the bottom of the standings with Syracuse.
Not the hardest schedule for Florida State from here on out, but definitely a big one on Sunday against Miami. That could be really a make-or-break game for Florida State when it comes to the ACC.
And you can never count Miami out in the Battle of Florida.
Yeah, definitely not. The Seminoles lead the Orange 8-2 here in set number 4. Sears Ant controls for McCabe on the far end. Now Florida State's Koenig off the arm of Harris Waddy. And FSU adds another point. 9-2, the Seminoles lead.
Yeah, an impressive movement from Kenneth Freeland after that serve to slide down to the middle to get into that setting position down at the 3 spot and then end up serving it up for Audrey Koenig. She was the Gatorade Player of the Year down in Arkansas.
There you go. A block by Kiari Roby. It's Roby's 7th block tonight.
They came into this game with 114 blocks. That leads the Seminoles now at 121.
Breda Hughes finds a hole for Syracuse.
And good job to break the 4-0 run there from the Seminoles to at least put yourself in a position to compete in this last set.
Yeah, definitely. And we've kind of seen a little bit of competition at the net between Raina Hughes and Kiari Roby tonight, both playing well for the respective teams. And I think both have kind of stopped the runs of the other team when it comes to that moment.
Well, you've talked about it all night, Nico. Volleyball is a game of runs, and another part of that is how do you stop the team from going on those runs? And those two have done an exceptional job of that tonight.
Definitely. Burke controls for Syracuse. Searsant to McCabe, and a sliding Phelan. Here's Rothman, and it goes off the tip from Syracuse. Seminoles point. Audrey Conan, a Florida native, sends it away for the Seminoles, but it goes too long.
That's Florida State's first service error since that first set. They started out that first set a little sloppy, but they've only had 4 since then, and they've gone through 2.5 sets until right there on that service error from Koenig.
Rothman just inside the line.
An impressive court awareness to not hit a cross court there, but find it in the corner of the 1 zone.
We got a timeout from Syracuse. The Orange trying to stay afloat late here from the women's building. They're down 2-1.
On both sidelines today. Well, the camera's not on us right now, but who says I haven't been dancing all game?
We should go ask Otto.
They're playing some great music up here. I don't think Otto is here anymore. I think he went off to the JMA Wireless Dome to go see FLJ and crew in year 2.
You might be right.
And by FLJ, I mean Felicia Leggett-Jack, of course, the Syracuse women's head coach in her 2nd year at the helm for an Orange team that got knocked in the 3rd round of the WNIT last year.
Yeah, big hopes for Syracuse women's basketball. Big changes and hopes as well for Syracuse men's basketball with head coach Adrian Autry taking over for 47-year head coach Jim Boeheim.
And there's something really built to this Syracuse volleyball team. Very, very young squad, bringing in a lot of young talent. The only discrepancy is that Syracuse doesn't have a lot of those senior leaders that they did last year.
Definitely.
And I mean, by Syracuse, this volleyball team.
And you mentioned one of those leaders sitting on the bench right now in Polina Shimanovo. Syracuse down by 9, 14-5. Florida State leads here in set number 4. If you're just joining us, FSU took the first set 25-10. Syracuse responded and took their first set in over a month, 26-24. And then Florida State, once again, 25-13 in set number 3. And here we are with an ace for Syracuse. So Florida State looking to pull away and get ready for Miami on Sunday. We talked to Coach Poole a little earlier this week as well, Max, and you mentioned the fatigue. Well, I'm going to throw this on Florida State because he mentions that travel has really fatigued this team this season, and I think the same with Syracuse, because if you look at it, they're both on opposite ends, north and south, to the Carolinas, where maybe a Duke doesn't have to travel so far to go play North Carolina. Same with Virginia, right? A lot of those teams are right there in the middle of the East Coast. And when you have teams like Florida State and Syracuse at complete opposite ends of the spectrum having to travel to play each other and even play teams all around, it catches up on you late in the season.
And then you throw on top of that the ACC is changing next year. There's a lot more new teams being incorporated. You look at SMU, you look at Cal, you look at Stanford. Those teams are all the way in California. So this Florida State team is going to have to end up traveling all the way across the country at some points during the season. Now, the schedulers will make sure that these teams aren't traveling all the way across the country every week or aren't making those long travels too.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what transpires from that because it's going to be in a lot of sports. You know, you got football, you got volleyball, you got every sport that's going to be traveling across the country and playing these West Coast teams quite a bit. And it's going to take some adaptability from not only the coaching staff, but the players. And if you think about it, college athletics is always changing all the time. There's going to be new players that are going to have to get used to it year after year. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this ACC expansion to the West Coast.
But there's also a sense of, of fun and embracing the experience of travel because a lot of these teams have to stay on the Atlantic coast, which, I mean, it would make sense in the Atlantic Coast Conference, you would stay on the Atlantic coast, but the opportunity to get to go to some new states, to get to explore some different sites, that's a whole nother layer of this travel, is getting to see new places. It will be a little easier for some of the teams like Syracuse, like Florida State, like the Carolinas, because it'll be those teams like SMU, Cal, and Stanford that have to travel the most, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with all of that. A lot of conference shakeups just in general in the NCAA this past year. And that goes off the forearm of a Syracuse player, Melina Brooking, into the game, a sophomore for the Orange. She played on Sunday, had 8 digs, and she's had a little bit of playing time here tonight. Syracuse down by 10 to Florida State, looking to get any momentum they can here late in the game. Florida State adds another, but Max, I got to ask you about the Syracuse team who came in tonight not having won a set in more than a month. They get that done tonight. A lot of positivity to take away from this contest.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I would say, if your head coach, Bakir Ganesh, you come out of this game with hope and the idea that because although Syracuse is 0-14 in the ACC, there's an idea that comes up eventually that, maybe you can't compete in a conference like this. There's always that, that lingering idea or thought in the back of your head. And just single set wins like that can put into perspective that Syracuse has the talent to compete in a premier conference like the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Coach Bakir Ganesh only in his second season with Syracuse. You got an inexperienced group of players being on the younger side, but you also have a coach that hasn't been at Syracuse for a while. He did coach he was the head coach of Temple for 10 years though, so he's got the coaching experience, just not exactly here at Syracuse as the Orange add a point right there, cut this deficit to single digits.
Someone we haven't talked a lot about today, Sky Yeeks, into the game for Florida State. That one just off her right arm. She actually used to be a professional model in New York City, so she's familiar with the Empire State.
Sure is. How about that? Going from modeling to playing volleyball. And a block at the net by Harris Waddy. Had herself a decent night tonight.
Might have given that Syracuse front line a cold right there. She got everything but the ball in there and gave them a nice fan of cool air.
Florida State leads Syracuse 18-10. And that goes off the arm behind the bench, almost into the trash can by Audrey Koenig. So the Orange trail by 7.
And some expletives coming out of Audrey Koenig's mouth after that shot to the 5 zone by Gretz Schlichter, but you can just tell some visible frustration, and Florida State really wants to put this game away.
That's out of the arms of Villamau. Syracuse on a little run here, 5-0 run. Schlichter to send it over for Syracuse. It's the bottom of the net, so that breaks a 5-0 run for Syracuse. Florida State takes a 19-12 lead. And despite the frustration of Audrey Koenig there on that other play, she does have 11 kills tonight. She's been very effective, along with 9 digs, one of the premier players on the Seminole squad. But going forward, she knows that everything's going to have to be at a really high bar, especially against Miami on Sunday.
And it looked like Greta Schlichter on that last serve might have tried a topspin serve rather than a float serve, because you could tell the ball just came down to the court a lot faster on that one,
right,
but unfortunately just didn't get the arc on it to go over the net.
And Kiari Roby with a clutch block right there. Roby's 8th block of the night. Florida State 5 points away from winning its 4th straight game. And that finds the middle. So a little back and forth action here from the women's building.
Impressive job to find this seam by Zaria Harris-Waddy.
There's Waddy on the serve for Syracuse. That one spins off the top of the tape. Here's Koenig on the outside, pins the corner, and Florida State gets the point.
The VAR official seemed a little surprised it when it too. He had definitely a shocked look on his face, pointing to the court with his flag.
Yeah, well, you can't place it any better than that. Phelan. Gaona sets up Rothman on the end, but it goes wide.
Nice hit off the edge of the block there by Layla Smith. Florida State's corralled some of those rebounds today, but that time not effectively.
And the Orange can't get it back over. Lauren McCabe on the effort. Florida State up 22-14 here in the fourth set.
Lauren McCabe, the 6'2 grad student, unfortunately doesn't have the wingspan necessary to reach that one. If she was maybe 7'2", she probably could have reached it. Well, when you come into a game like this against a premier team in the ACC, there's not an expectation for you to win. So the idea that you can compete in a game like this is a win in itself for Syracuse, and I know it's something that head coach Bakir Ganesh-Sharatnam will be proud of his team for after this game.
And that goes too strong for Syracuse. So Florida State adds a point, 23-14 Seminoles. Sears-Ant sets up McCabe. The Orange save it, get it to Florida State's side. And this one finds a blank space as Corey Lewis got a hand on it. Florida State just 1 point away from another win.
Victoria Sears in on that last hose, and he can dunk on those hoops. The hoops aren't brought down. They're not at 10 feet. They're easily at 20 to 25 feet right now, I would say.
Oh, you gotta love it. Florida State, set point, no. It goes off the bottom of the net from the serve of Kiari Roby, so Syracuse stays in it, down by 9 here in set number 4.
You will say something that has impressed me with the Syracuse team is the unwavering positivity, whether that's on the bench, on the court, continuous high fives, continuous positive reinforcements. Haven't necessarily seen that on the Florida State side, even though they've led for a majority of this contest.
Phelan backwards to Conley. Schlichter. Koenig with the dig out, and the send over by Conley. Florida State beats Syracuse 3-1 here in the women's building on this Friday night in November. The Orange wins set number 2.